Now that everything's imported into Premiere, the next step is building a rough edit. Think of a rough edit kind of like a rough draft of a paper. All your ideas are there, but it's not quite done. There's still some things we can do to make it better. So let's look at how to start a new sequence or change the settings of one you've already started, set in and out points, and get clips onto the timeline and even delete them. So let's get into Premiere and see how it's done. All right, so first things first, you want to make sure that you're in the right workspace. To change workspaces, just click on this icon in the top right corner and select the workspace that's best for whatever it is that you're doing. I'm going to be in the editing workspace, but you could also do this in the assembly workspace. Now, there's a couple ways to start a new sequence. And what I mean by sequence is where you're going to do all of your editing. So I could go up to File, New, Sequence, and it's going to show me a bunch of preset sequence settings. Or you could click on the Settings tab and choose the settings that you want based on the project that you're doing. While this might be the preferred way, there is actually a way that's pretty easy. So to start a new sequence, all I have to do is drag a video to where my timeline area is. So I'm going to go into my video bin, and right now everything's listed and it's really hard to tell which clip is which. So if I click this icon on the bottom of that window, it gives me a thumbnail view of all the different clips in the bin. So I'm going to go ahead and select a clip and click and drag it to my timeline area. And you'll notice that it creates a new sequence. And that sequence is right here, and it's denoted by this little icon in the bottom right corner. However, right now it's in the video bin and could get kind of lost with all the other clips. So I'm going to click and drag this up to my project window and then drop it there so it's easier to find later on. I can even change the name of this by just clicking on it and changing it to the name of my project. Now, one thing that you need to know about starting a sequence this way is that it will have the same settings as whatever clip you just dragged onto it. And so it's important to know the settings of your clip and what you want your sequence to be. To check, make sure you have your timeline selected, so it's outlined in blue, and then go up to Sequence, down to Sequence Settings. And then there's a couple of things you want to look at. For this project, we want to make sure our time base is 23.976, our frame size is 1920 by 1080, and that our pixel aspect ratio is square pixels. If your project isn't set to those, go ahead and change them. And if they are, great, hit OK. So now I have a clip on the timeline and I want to continue to build a rough edit. So I'm going to go back into my video bin and I'm going to select the next clip in my sequence and I'm going to double click it. And it'll open up in the preview monitor. So see this little blue icon right here? This is called a playhead. And if you move it with the mouse left and right, it'll show you every single frame in that video. If you want to be more precise, you can use the left and right arrows on your keyboard to move one frame at a time. So to set an endpoint, just go to where you want your clip to begin. So for me, it'll be right here. I'm going to hit the letter I on the keyboard, and that sets an end point, or where my clip is going to begin. Then I'm going to scrub through to where I want it to end. So right before the camera goes down there, I'm going to hit O on the keyboard, and this tells me where the clip will end. So then it's time to get it to the timeline. And there's a few different ways to do this. I could just click and drag this down to the timeline, but you'll notice that it brings both the video, which is on top, and the audio, which is on the bottom. For this particular project, I don't need the audio. So what I can do is click this icon where it says drag video only and drag that down to the timeline, and it only brings the video. If I wanted just the audio, I would click this icon and drag that down. All right, so I'm going to continue to build a small rough edit here by setting in and out points on a number of other clips. All right, so I have a few clips on the timeline, and you'll notice that it's pretty zoomed out. So to zoom into the timeline, just hit the plus key on the keyboard. Likewise, if you want to zoom out, you can hit the minus key. Now, if I want to delete a clip from the timeline, all I need to do is select the clip that I want to delete, and then hit the delete key on the keyboard to get rid of it. So as I scrub through this rough edit, you'll notice how the video above in the program monitor is showing me how these are laid out. This is my actual video. So you want to make sure to put things together in a way that you want them to be. Finally, all I need to do is add my music. So I'm going to go back into the project window, select that song that I imported, and drag it below the video. Remember, video goes from the middle up and audio goes from the middle down. So I'm going to zoom out from my timeline, and you'll notice that I don't have enough video to fill up the song. So I can either add more videos or I can shorten the song, which we'll learn in the next video. In the next step, we're going to talk about some different tools to tighten or fine-tune the edit points to maybe match up with the song a little bit better.